Welcome, Katie.
Thank you
I'm
so much for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here, and I was just chatting with you moments before we hit record that I really believe you're aligned with the topic that I'm covering about streamlining with systems, being an entrepreneur in the space, and still maintaining some authenticity in our community because it can get overwhelming.
It can, and especially in a world with more, it feels like we need to be everywhere, doing everything. And if we're not seeing success come from doing all the things, well, then it's our fault. We're not doing enough. And I really strongly believe that it couldn't be further from the truth.
Absolutely. And, not all of my listeners are social media savvy, but just so that they are aware, the topic that I'm delving into with you is about streamlining. And one of the strategies that you teach is a four-part posting strategy.
Yes.
It has been like a game changer for me because while I have been always strategic, sometimes having somebody created a path for you and proven that it does work, it takes away from the guessing, like, well, what do I post today? And then then you get into this rut, like, am I posting for the sake of posting?
Yeah. And I feel like during COVID, it seems like it was so long ago now, but we had nothing better to do other than posting on social media and creating content. And now that the world has opened up, life is pretty much back to normal. You know, I don't I don't know about you, but I don't have time to be on social media all day every day. Like I have a business to run. My business is a social media agency, but at the same time, I have a business to run. I'm not an influencer. And that's a very different way of showing up on social media than showing up as a business owner. Influencer, business owner, two different ways of creating content, two different ways of growing.
Absolutely. And I consider myself more of a strategic creator versus an influencer. I wouldn't want to be
Yeah.
influencer.
I know, right? Me neither.
Yeah. Um, Again, because of like balance, work-life balance, and wanting to focus your energy on what really matters to you, your why.
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask you a few very detailed questions I believe that align with your values. So, the first one is in a digital age where social media often feels like it's replacing genuine human interactions, how do we recognize if we're truly deepening our connection or merely collecting followers?
Oh man, it's so hard because the more people that follow you, it's like, yay, people like me. It's like high school all over again. But really, it matters if the right people are following you. And recent FTC updates and regulations have made it so that if buying followers is illegal. It's always been frowned upon, but now it is illegal to buy any sort of followers or engagement. So if you were thinking about doing that just to give yourself a little bump and, getting kickstarted on your brand, don't do it. It's illegal and it's frowned upon anyways. I would rather have five people raise their hand for my offer instead of 500 people just seeing my content and they're the wrong people. So we have to shift our mindset away from being a part of, okay, I need to have more followers, more engagement, more things to the right things. So again, I'm so glad that you know about the four post strategy, the awareness to action strategy. It's designed so that you are posting less on social media, kind of reverse engineering from what is the end goal that I want people to take and reverse engineering to, okay, how can I make people problem aware? And if you have, like I said, just five people saying me, well, that's great. That's five of the right people saying I'm ready for your offer instead of just hoping that the people that see you on Instagram or LinkedIn might buy from you someday.
And for those who are not aware, the four-part strategy, to me, it's brilliant. It really goes deeper into the human psychology of how we go about maybe innately making purchase decisions. So first we become aware of something,
Mm-hmm.
And then we may start building trust if we hear something that helps us, like an instant win, like a tip.
Yep.
And along the way, you may, as you take someone from the awareness to the action, as I mentioned, there's this trust building phase. So
Yes.
they
Oh,
first
yeah.
know you, right? They get to
Mm-hmm.
know you, then they maybe trust and like you. And then next time when you're ready to start making a choice, like, oh, she's saying that she has this class she's offering or
Yes.
something.
Oh man, you
Right.
got it. You have the four post strategy down. I love it so much. And it's so true. Like if you're just posting all the time and selling, nobody wants to be sold to all the time. I don't know about you, but I do not turn into the home shopping channel just for fun. Like I hate Sunday mornings before the football comes on because it's like all infomercials. And I'm like, ugh, this is the worst. You don't want your social media to be the boring infomercial. How can you generate the right people raising their hand saying, that's my person? And oh, now she has something that will help me. I'm raising my hand. I'm ready to buy. And it's exactly like what you said. So making people problem aware, building out on that problem. So the elaboration or the tip post, the community post. So how have you overcome this? How have you helped a client overcome this? Great time for client testimonials. And then the fourth post is asking people to take action. I don't know about you, but I don't go to Instagram to listen to a podcast. I open up Spotify. That's where I go to listen to podcasts. So if you're only telling people, hey, listen to my podcast, new episode, da 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 da, well, it's going to become white noise and they're going to start scrolling right past you. But if you give value, build that know, like, and trust factor and show them how you can help them with their problems and say, hey, by the way, I actually have a podcast episode all about this. If you want to listen to it, comment podcast below and I'll send you the link. Okay. I mean, now you have the right people raising their hand saying, yeah, this is something I want to know more about.
And building on a strategy gives you a roadmap, so to speak,
Yes.
because I've listened to one of your podcasts where you talked about not using Instagram solely for promoting your podcast. And I was unfortunately one of those people because I didn't know better. I started a podcast and one of my friends who also started, that was her strategy. And not knowing better, I thought I wasn't into heavy social media. Like I did a little bit of Facebook. Instagram was more for picture of my son and fun
Yep.
stuff,
Yep.
right? And so I did it. I had started listening to you, and I also started to follow other strategies. And now when I post, it'll be leading up to the podcast. But it'll be like, are you aware? I mean, I don't come out and say that, but
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a psychology behind it. But I also think it was from you or someone else in this marketing space that said the way we did marketing in the turn of this industrial age back maybe 30, 40, 50 years ago is not what we do now.
No.
And also the brick and mortar stores are no longer truly where we go and touch and feel and access content.
Yeah, it's it's funny. I actually was just talking to one of my daughter's friends' dads, and he was doing a job interview, and he went to the mall to buy a tie, and he was like, there was only like four ties to choose from, and the entire mall. Like I went to Macy's, I went to Dillard's, I went to all the different stores. There was like four different ties. People don't go to stores anymore like they used to. And so how can you get the right people showing up and buying from you? Well, it's you. It's you. And no matter what your business is, whether it's a product, whether you're a coach, a consultant, a realtor, whether you do have a brick and mortar store, you have to have either you or somebody from your business that's willing to be the face, the person, the spokesperson for your company. Because people want to buy from people now. And it doesn't matter if it's a tie or if it's a $10,000 coaching service. They want to know you and be like, oh, they can help me. I know them. I like them. I trust them. I'm ready to give that person, which is really that business, my money.
Absolutely. And along those lines, what you mentioned also is the community aspect. That when you're taking them from the journey, unconsciously perhaps for them, of making them aware, know, like, trust you, you are also building a micro network, I believe, of people who can raise their hand at some point and say me, but
Yes.
just
And they tell their friends
nurturing
about you.
ex- exactly, exactly, and nurturing that community, I find, is no easy feat.
Hmm. Yeah. It's it, it's true. Um, I wanted to elaborate on it, but that's really what it is. It's not easy to nurture a community, and without going down too much of a rabbit hole, the internet is always changing. Social media is always updating. I mean, there's different platforms out there. There's different ways of creating content. There's like, Web3 platforms. With all of it, can feel overwhelming and like it's hard to keep up. But if you go into social media with intention and with a strategy and say, I know exactly who it is that I am talking to on this platform and the problems that they have, and here's how I can help them. It doesn't matter how much you post, because if people come to your Instagram page and you still have content on it that can help them and can answer their questions, can solve their problems, well, it it's going to be evergreen content that's going to have them say, that's my person. I want to sign up. So I really, yes, the more you show up in front of people, they will feel like they know you more. I think stories is a great place to do it, but I really want us to, as a society, to get and I know it sounds crazy because I have a social media agency, but I want us to get off of social media from being on it so much. How can you take the posts that you do on social media to transform your in-person relationships? And it's by showing up with purpose and knowing who you're talking to, so that every time you post, your community is there to see your post, to help you, and to support you.
So it sounds like, Katie, you're saying we need to take responsibility for our role in how we utilize social media. And what are the signs, though, you would say that entrepreneurs should look for to ensure that their online presence aligns with what I call meaningful, energy driven relationships? Because this overarching topic that I'm really passionate about is energy awareness.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. I think, well, it can be so, I mean, right? It can be so draining to be on social media because we see our competition, our people in our industry, like, oh, look, they've done all this. I should be there. I should have gotten this far by now. And everyone's showing the highlight reels. Nobody really shows like, oh, I applied to 50 speaking gigs this year and I got accepted to 6 or whatever, well, I got shut down 44 times or whatever it is. You only are seeing other people's highlight reels and it can be extremely draining. So I think that when you're showing up to cultivate community on social media and being your authentic self, you're going to have people that are your biggest cheerleaders as well.
Absolutely. In the world of trying to be perfect, and I mean, again, I'm not trying to be perfect, but often if there's this impression that we put out that my life is so incredible, but
Yeah.
it's true that, oh, that analogy that I'm sure you've seen, the iceberg and the
Yes.
75%, that's the effort, that's the hard work and labor that's going on for the little pyramid that you see perhaps as a
Barely
positive
poking up
social.
above the water. Yes,
Yeah.
and that is, yeah. So for anyone that hasn't seen it, go Google that image, or maybe, we can pop up that image here on YouTube. But it is so true with social media and with business. You're only seeing just the tip of the iceberg on social media. There is a whole berg underneath the water of trying different things, failing at different things, It's insane. And I think that the more authentic, the more real we are. If you know what? I didn't feel like I haven't posted on Instagram in like 2 months. I just haven't had the energy to do it. And which sounds crazy because I'm posting on Facebook and LinkedIn. I have the energy for that. Instagram, I just don't have the energy for. So I'm not doing it. Is Does it suck that that's where the majority of my community, my audience is? Yeah. But you know what? I'm not able to produce the quality of content over there that I know that they want to see. So I'm just taking a break and I'm being honest with myself. So don't if you don't feel like doing something, if you're not being served and you're not being fulfilled with social media, take a step back and focus in on where you are getting fulfillment. Maybe it's not creating a ton of content. Maybe it's engaging with other people's. Maybe it's stories. Maybe it's YouTube. Maybe it's podcasting. Maybe you take a break and just do email campaigns for a bit. Focus in on what it is that's fulfilling you because as business owners, like that's why we started our own businesses, right? Is so that we could have a life that we get more fulfillment from.
Absolutely. And Katie, speaking of fulfillment, I'm sure as a busy um, mom, you have a daughter, right? And I don't know exactly how many children you have,
I have
but
two. I
I'm a
have two
mom and
daughters.
you're a mom. Two daughters. Okay. Yeah, good. I I want to understand as a busy mom and entrepreneur with your agency, you probably face challenges of balancing, like you're just describing,
Yeah.
and maintaining visibility, but also your sanity. How do you maintain energy and authenticity across your roles? And what tip would you share with solopreneurs, and particularly female solopreneurs who are
Yeah.
moms,
Trying
busy
trying to do
moms,
all the
right?
things.
And
Yeah.
I can attest that I'm always feeling a little bit overwhelmed. That's why the strategies help. But how do you maintain your authentic brand voice while balancing those demands of real life?
Yeah, and I definitely overcommit myself. So I grew up playing all the sports. I did all the sports year round. I mean, I you name it, and I was in that sport. So I grew up being very busy, and that's just how I'm used to things. And so sadly for my children, are going through the same thing. Like once sports is over, now we're doing, gymnastics. And after gymnastics is over, then we're gonna do basketball. So I mean, we're always doing something. And I get it. It can feel sometimes I'm like, why did I do this? Why did I overcommit myself? And it's understanding certain aspects of your personality in different ways that made you who you are. Um, I think that showing up and still consistently creating my brand voice was just realizing I'm not going to have the real fancy video setup. I'm never going to be really good at doing like rehearsed scripts, like reading things. For those that are watching this on YouTube, I make weird faces. I talk with my hands a lot. And, I was like, bah, I, I'm not going to edit all this out and like be more perfect. This is who I am. And the people, like, I even had one guy send me a message one time. He's like, I found the quality of your content great. I just couldn't get past how much you move your hands when you talk. And I'm like, okay, so just listen to me. Turn off your screen next time. What? Shut your eyes. But I mean, you're gonna find people that aren't going to like you. They're not gonna resonate with you. And you know what? That's fine. Just showing up and being you and stop worrying about the perfection, that's gonna help the right people come into your sphere. And I mean, I had a couple kids, and I mean, it's because I show up in stories and I say, "Oh, well, I just went to Kids Bop with my daughters, and we're doing this now." Showing again is back to what you said before. Showing the highlights, showing the lowlights, showing what you're working on, what failed, what worked, what didn't. All of that is how it's going to help shape your brand voice and bring in the right audience to your community.
And it is a discipline that also requires, being your own cheerleader. I talk about being accountable to myself, but also being accountable to my family because that's ties back to being authentic. I can't just be on social all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, like, well, who can? Like, really, what kind of life do you have? That's the thing. Like that real honestly, that is what created the 4 post strategy, what caused me to want to create this was because I was with my daughters. We were at the park. It was a beautiful day. And I saw a group of like, I don't know, 14, 13, 14-year-olds. They were all sitting in a circle on a beautiful day, staring down at their phones like this. And no one was talking to each other. And it made me really sad because I was like, here they are outside and they're all hunched over, spending time with their digital friends instead of the friends that they're with in real life. And our time is so precious. It goes by so fast. How could you get in and be effective so that you can enjoy the away time with people that you're with in real life even more? How can you find ways to use social media for for growth without just having to be on it all the time? And that's what again caused me to really think about a strategy of going in on certain platforms, posting the ways that the platforms want you to, creating the content that builds the best audience that raises their hand. And the 4 post strategy was born. And hopefully people are getting off of social media and nurturing their real life relationships uh, based off of, the friends that they make online.
Yes, and I see that even for myself at different points in my journey of becoming an entrepreneur, being at my phone, just sticking to it, going, okay, what I'm supposed to post. I've been told
Hmm.
post all the time. And what do I post and why? And there needs to be some level of strategic thinking around it. One of the things I appreciate about what you've put together is that I think of it as trust the process. You've created this process, then you can sit back and trust it. I think of it as like meditation techniques or different modalities that I practice. You can't overthink about, okay, well, is it working? Is it working? Sometimes you just do the breath work and know that your your system is responding to it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that I love that you talked about doing the breath work and taking a break back 'cause meditation was really important for me and taking that step back. I started my business, working in between nap times and on after my kids went to bed. So once my kids went to school, I was still working really, really hard, but I had more time. I had gotten into a terrible routine of like, okay, when I go to work, I'm going to work really, really hard so I can, when they get out, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I was doing all the things, and I almost felt guilty if I felt guilty if I like, okay, I have a little bit of a break. I'm going to go to the bathroom. Like it was getting that bad. And it wasn't until I started putting in some meditation, starting to do the breath work and stop worrying about doing all the shoulds. I was shooting all over myself. And so I think that once I incorporated that into my daily routine, I was happier. I was getting the right things done and they were being done better. My business started growing, and it all started with recentering and focusing on me and what's important for me in my life.
Absolutely. And it sounds like you very consciously understood what was happening to you, became aware of,
Yeah.
because I've gone through that level of awareness. And ironically, I have a background in meditation. I have all these modalities, but the road and the path of becoming an entrepreneur while being a mom is a tough one because of the guilt factor and the fact that there's so much work that goes into the initial years.
Hmm. Yeah, it's so true. It's the guilt factor. And I I don't know what the answer is. I mean, like, I probably listen to this podcast more because I'm sure you share some great tips on that. But I mean, it's so true. Like having to like simplify and as moms, we give up so much of our lives, and we're living for our kids. And then if you have a business, you're living for the business. You want that to scale. And something as simple as breath work and meditation, just for 10 minutes a day, that's your you time. And that's the time that you can give back to yourself. That's all for you. And you can focus on making your life better, not kids running around, not trying to close that next sale. It's just you being present with who you are and in the moment.
That's perfect. And Katie, just to wrap up, because the theme specifically November is streamlining with
Mm-hmm.
systems. And I know you're aware of the strategies, but also systems. What three systems would you recommend to a female solopreneur? And it could be one of those that you mentioned, like 10 minutes of meditation. But what else
Mm-hmm.
would you include as a mechanism for streamlining?
Yeah, well, I think that if you don't have time for meditation, just doing the breath work, set aside that time every day, whether it's at the start of your day, it's at the end of your day. I would definitely recommend doing that because that's 100% you time. I think that doing the four post strategy is a great way of streamlining things. It's less time on social media, it's more intentional time, and you're going to get better results. And then honestly, track your time. This might sound crazy, but there's free tool like Toggle. I love the tool Toggle because I had no idea how much time I was spending on certain tasks. Track your time for like 2 weeks on how long it takes you to do everything, even going to the bathroom, whatever. You'll be shocked to see how much time you spend on certain rabbit holes. And I think that when you see that and you realize it, it'll allow you to be more intentional with each of your tasks. I read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's talking about getting 1% better every day. And it's little things like that where if you realize I have all I was supposed to be doing was answering one email for this client. And now I've been in my inbox for 3 hours. Still haven't sent that email. Like, how can you adjust where your workflow so that you are more streamlined? Track your hours and see how long each task takes you and stuff that you might not realize takes you so long. It could be eating up a good chunk of your day.
Getting 1% better every day is like my passion, and I
Love it.
love Atomic Habit as well. That book has been something I now refer to almost every day. Little quotes, key
Yes.
anecdotes. Well, Katie, thank you so much. I hope in the future, after I've gone even deeper into the four-part strategy, because I do apply it daily now for my content,
Great.
I can have you back, and maybe we can do a
Yeah.
reflection on what
I'd
what
love
what I
that.
can do better.
Yeah, I'd
Wonderful.
love that. Yeah, always happy to talk about posting less on social media and yeah, thanks so much for having me today.
Of course, Katie, it was an honor. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
That's perfect. And Katie, just to wrap up, because the theme specifically in November is streamlining with
Hmm.
systems. And I know you're aware of the strategies, but also systems. What three systems would you recommend to a female solopreneur? And it could be one of those that you mentioned, like 10 minutes of meditation. But what else
Hmm.
would you include as a mechanism for streamlining?
Yeah, well, I think that if you don't have time for meditation, just doing the breath work, set aside that time every day, whether it's at the start of your day, it's at the end of your day. I would definitely recommend doing that because that's 100% you time. I think that doing the four post strategy is a great way of streamlining things. It's less time on social media, it's more intentional time, and you're going to get better results. And then honestly, track your time. This might sound crazy, but there's free tool like Toggle. I love the tool Toggle because I had no idea how much time I was spending on certain tasks. Track your time for like 2 weeks on how long it takes you to do everything, even going to the bathroom, whatever. You'll be shocked to see how much time you spend on certain rabbit holes. And I think that when you see that and you realize it, it'll allow you to be more intentional with each of your tasks. I read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's talking about getting 1% better every day. And it's little things like that where if you realize I have all I was supposed to be doing was answering one email for this client, and now I've been in my inbox for 3 hours. Still haven't sent that email. Like, how can you adjust where your workflow so that you are more streamlined? Track your hours and see how long each task takes you and stuff that you might not realize takes you so long. It could be eating up a good chunk of your day.
getting 1% better every day is like my passion, and I
Love it.
love Atomic Habit as well. That book has been something I now refer to almost every day. Little quotes, key
Yes.
anecdotes. Well, Katie, thank you so much. I hope in the future, after I've gone even deeper into the four-part strategy, because I do apply it daily now for my content,
Great.
I can have you back and maybe we can do a
Yeah.
reflection on
I'd love
what I
that.
can do better.
Yeah, I'd
Wonderful.
love that. Yeah, always happy to talk about posting less on social media and yeah, thanks so much for having me today.
Of course, Katie, it was an honor. Thank you so much.